The rain pounded against the cracked pavement of Westview High's parking lot, each drop echoing the thud of Emily Carter's heart as she lay crumpled on the ground, clutching her wrist. The pain was sharp, like 1,000 needles stabbing through her skin, but it was the laughter, the cruel, mocking laughter of her tormentors, that cut deeper. Three girls stood over her, their faces twisted with smug satisfaction, as one of them, Brittany, sneered, "Maybe next time you'll stay out of our way, loser." Emily's vision blurred with tears, but through the haze, she made a silent vow this wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Hey, if you're new here and love stories of grit, revenge, and justice, hit that subscribe button and join our community. We're just getting started. Emily Carter was no stranger to hardship. Growing up in a small, working-class town in Ohio, she'd learned early on that life wasn't always fair. Her mom worked double shifts at the diner, and her dad had walked out when she was 6, leaving her to navigate the world with a quiet resilience. At 16, Emily was the kind of girl who blended into the background, average height, brown hair, and a wardrobe of faded thrift store finds. But her eyes, a piercing green, held a fire that nobody saw coming. At Westview High, she kept her head down, focusing on her grades and her dream of becoming a lawyer someday. She'd spend hours in the school library, devouring books about courtroom battles and underdog victories, imagining herself standing tall in a suit, fighting for justice. But dreams don't protect you in the hallways of a school ruled by cliques and cruelty. The trouble started 6 months ago when Brittany Harper, the queen bee of Westview's social scene, set her sights on Emily. Brittany was everything Emily wasn't: blonde, popular, and dripping with privilege. Her dad was a local car dealership tycoon, and her mom chaired the PTA, which gave Brittany a kind of untouchable aura. She and her two minions, Kaylee and Madison, ran the school like their personal kingdom, and for reasons Emily could never quite figure out, she became their favorite target. It started small, whispers in the halls, snickers behind her back, a loser scrawled on her locker in red marker. But as the weeks turned into months, the bullying escalated. They'd trip her in the cafeteria, accidentally spill soda on her homework, and spread rumors that followed her like a shadow. Emily tried to ignore it, to stay invisible. But Brittany had a predator's instinct for weakness, and she wasn't about to let up. The incident in the parking lot wasn't random. It was the culmination of weeks of torment, a calculated move to break Emily completely. That day, Emily had stayed late for debate club, one of the few places she felt safe. As she walked to her mom's beat-up sedan, Brittany, Kaylee, and Madison were waiting. The rain was coming down in sheets, and the parking lot was deserted. No teachers, no witnesses. "Hey, charity case," Brittany called out, her voice dripping with venom. Emily froze, her stomach twisting. She tried to keep walking, but Kaylee blocked her path, and Madison shoved her from behind. Before she knew it, she was on the ground, her backpack spilling books into the puddles. Brittany loomed over her, grabbing Emily's wrist and twisting it hard. "You think you're smart, huh? Smarter than us," she hissed. The crack was audible, a sickening snap that echoed in Emily's ears as pain exploded up her arm. The girls laughed, their voices blending with the rain, and then they were gone, leaving Emily alone, sobbing and broken. At the hospital, the doctor confirmed the worst: a fractured wrist, bad enough to need a cast for 8 weeks. Emily's mom, Karen, was beside herself, her face lined with worry as she sat by the hospital bed. "Who did this, Em? You have to tell me," she pleaded. But Emily shook her head, tears streaming down her face. She wasn't ready to talk, not yet. The truth was, she was terrified. Brittany's family had money, connections, and influence. Who would believe a nobody like Emily over the daughter of Westview's golden couple? But as she lay in that sterile hospital room, staring at the ceiling, something shifted inside her. The pain in her wrist was a constant reminder, not just of what they'd done, but of what she could do. She wasn't going to let them win, not this time. The next morning, Emily made a decision that would change everything. She wasn't going to stay silent. She wasn't going to let fear keep her down. With her good hand, she started typing on her mom's old laptop, researching everything she could about assault, bullying, and legal recourse. She found stories of kids who'd fought back, of victims who'd turned the tables, and she felt a spark of hope. But hope alone wasn't enough. She needed a plan. Emily knew she couldn't afford a fancy lawyer, but she remembered Ms. Delgado, her debate coach, who'd once mentioned pro bono work with a local legal aid clinic. Swallowing her nerves, Emily called her. "Ms. Delgado, I need help," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "I want to take them to court." Ms. Delgado, a no-nonsense woman with a passion for justice, didn't hesitate. She connected Emily with Sarah Dangayan, a young lawyer at the clinic who specialized in cases involving teens. Sarah was a force of nature, sharp, compassionate, and fiercely determined. When Emily told her story, Sarah's eyes narrowed. "They think they can get away with this because of who they are," she said, leaning forward. "But they're wrong. We're going to build a case so airtight, they won't know what hit them." For the first time in weeks, Emily felt like she could breathe. She had an ally, someone who believed her. But the fight was just beginning. Building the case wasn't easy. Brittany, Kaylee, and Madison had covered their tracks well. Or so they thought. There were no security cameras in the parking lot, and the rain had washed away any physical evidence. Emily's word against theirs was all they had, and in a town where the Harpers held sway, that wasn't much. But Sarah was relentless. She interviewed teachers, students, and even the janitor who'd seen the girls lingering near the parking lot that day. She found a text message thread on Kaylee's phone, recovered through a subpoena, that showed the girls planning to teach Emily a lesson. The messages were damning. "She thinks she's so smart. Let's see how smart she is when we're done with her." Emily's heart raced as she read them, a mix of anger and vindication washing over her. They thought they were untouchable, but they'd made a mistake. The real breakthrough came from an unexpected source, Jake, a quiet kid from Emily's history class who'd been in the parking lot that day, hiding behind a dumpster to avoid his own bullies. He'd seen everything, the shove, the twist, the laughter. Jake was scared to come forward. He knew what happened to snitches at Westview. But Emily reached out to him, not as a victim, but as someone who understood. "I know what it's like to be afraid," she told him, her voice steady despite the cast on her wrist. "But if we don't stand up, they'll keep doing this, to you, to me, to everyone." Something in her words clicked, and Jake agreed to testify. His account was the missing piece, a witness who could corroborate Emily's story and turn the tide. As the court date approached, the town buzzed with gossip. Brittany's parents hired a high-priced lawyer, a slick man named Gregory Holt, who painted Emily as a liar looking for attention. "This is a simple misunderstanding," he argued in pretrial hearings, his voice smooth as silk. "These girls are upstanding students, not criminals." The Harpers leaned hard on their connections, spreading rumors that Emily was unstable, that her mom was a deadbeat, that the whole case was a money grab. At school, the bullying didn't stop. It got worse. Kids whispered, "Snitch," as Emily passed, and someone keyed "liar" into her mom's car. But Emily refused to back down. Every night, she and Sarah went over the case, practicing her testimony, preparing for every trick Holt might pull. "They're going to try to break you on the stand," Sarah warned. "But you're stronger than they think." The trial was a spectacle. The courtroom was packed. Classmates, neighbors, even local reporters who'd caught wind of the story. Brittany sat at the defense table, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her face a mask of innocence. Kaylee and Madison fidgeted beside her, their confidence shaken. Emily took the stand first, her cast a stark reminder of the violence she'd endured. Holt came at her hard, twisting her words, questioning her memory, even implying she'd hurt herself to frame the girls. "Isn't it true, Miss Carter, that you've always been jealous of Brittany's popularity?" he asked, his tone dripping with condescension. The room held its breath. Emily's hands shook, but she looked him in the eye. "No," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "I just wanted to be left alone. But they wouldn't let me." Then came Jake's testimony. He was nervous, his voice barely above a whisper, but he told the truth. He'd seen Brittany grab Emily's wrist, heard the crack, watched them laugh as they walked away. The jury leaned forward, hanging on his every word. Sarah followed with the text messages, each one projected on a screen for the courtroom to see. The evidence was overwhelming, but the Harpers weren't done fighting. Brittany's dad took the stand, claiming his daughter was a good girl who'd never hurt anyone. He even tried to bribe Emily's mom, offering to pay for her medical bills if she dropped the case. Karen, exhausted but furious, threw the offer back in his face. "My daughter's worth more than your money," she said. The turning point came when Emily's lawyer played her trump card, a second witness. Unbeknownst to the bullies, a substitute teacher had been in her car across the parking lot, grading papers. She'd seen the whole thing through her rearview mirror, but hadn't come forward until Sarah tracked her down. Her testimony was unshakable, and as she described the malicious intent she'd witnessed, Brittany's facade cracked. She started to cry, not out of remorse, but out of fear. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours before returning a verdict guilty. Brittany, Kaylee, and Madison were ordered to pay restitution for Emily's medical bills and face community service. More importantly, the judge issued a restraining order, ensuring they couldn't come near Emily again. But the real victory wasn't in the courtroom. It was in Emily. She'd walked into that trial a scared, broken girl and walked out a warrior. The town didn't forget her story. The local paper ran a front-page article titled, "The Girl Who Fought Back," and Emily became a quiet hero to kids who'd been bullied in silence. She returned to school with her head held high, her cast signed by Jake and Ms. Delgado, a reminder of the people who'd stood by her. Brittany's reign was over. She and her friends were shunned, their popularity crumbling under the weight of their actions. Emily's dream of becoming a lawyer burned brighter than ever, and Sarah offered her an internship at the legal aid clinic the following summer. "You've got the heart of a fighter," Sarah told her. "Don't ever lose that." As the school year ended, Emily stood in the parking lot where it all began, the rain long gone, the pavement dry under her sneakers. She looked at the spot where she'd fallen, where she'd vowed to fight back, and she smiled. The pain in her wrist was fading, but the strength she'd found was permanent. She wasn't invisible anymore, not to herself, not to the world, and she knew deep down that this was only the beginning of her story. Thank you so much for watching Emily's incredible journey. Her courage inspires us all, and I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching this video from? Drop your city or state in the comments below, and let's see how far this story reaches. If you love this tale of justice and empowerment, give this video a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. See you in the next one!